of stuff, right? So anybody that's good at filming video is a god or goddess and should be worshipped as such, because it's absolutely invaluable. I think everybody's seen kind of the tripod mount in the corner, and you've got, you know, kids and people running by, and it's hard to really track and zoom like what I have. The key things I look for when filming video is both fighters, head and feet visible. Like you said, I want to see the footwork, I want to see the head positioning, I want to see range in between the opponents. If you're focusing on one person and the other person's often cropped out, you don't know if they were in D range or A range or wherever they were before they came together. So you want to get, you know, perfect video would be both fighters. Actually, I think I have a example of perfect video.
Oh, have Saverick and Fiat when he kills the really cool perfect video.
It's perfect.
So one of the things I don't like about the way this video is filmed is I can't see my feet. It does a good job of keeping both video fighters in range. I can see what the range is between the opponents. It's at a really good angle too. Oftentimes you see somebody directly behind one opponent and you can't really see what's going on, like right now. But that there gives a pretty good idea of exactly the spacing and what's going on between the fighters. And that's what I would consider good video.
Then is good.
Yeah. Thanks here.
For Arminius.
For Arminius. Yeah.
Just like we watch the sun when we're fighting, try and keep the sun out of the video. Sometimes it's hard come late a day, but just like we position our opponents for chivalry, try and position the camera so that your back is to the sun, so you're not staring to this big blind spot. Also, another hard thing to do is to get close enough to the Eric where you don't have a ton of people in front of you. You know, trying to muscle your way to the front of the Eric at the end of September Crown is very, very worth it when you look at the video you get of that fighting.
I'd say to anyone videotaping fights too, don't tell an opponent that you have the tape of it if they want to rewatch it. If something bad happened that you think happened in a fight, because I don't want to be distracted. If I have a problem with someone in a fight, I'll talk with them. I don't want someone to pull me off the side and say, dude, they missed this, look at this video. Because I don't need anyone throwing anything on the fire.
Yeah, that kind of comes back into what I use video for, which is training, not gauging. Specifically at Crown, there were moments, both in my fights and in opponents' fights, where things were missed. And I try and leave everything on the field. Absolutely everything on the field. You don't want to ever be in a position where you're putting your opponent, where you're chasing down your opponent going, see, you did miss this?
We don't have instant replay.
It's not an instant replay sport. Video is an absolutely horrible judge and should not be used as such, in my opinion.
Case in point, I was at one of our practices, we were videotaping, and I took a shot, and it hurt where it hit me. And people on the side went, no, you didn't get hit, no way. And I said, well, we'll watch it on video. We went and watched it on video, and I saw it on video and say, there's no way that hit me. But during the fight, it hurt, and it's one of those things you really, there are a lot of times you can't tell whether it was good or whether it was
Absolutely.
not.
And I've got some video examples I'll get into later of shots where you need to get to the core of what we do in a sport, which is interact with your opponent. Because this video is not a third party, it's not a judge, we're not playing on a point system, and it is not a great tool for that, and we'll get into that in a sec.
Well, and you're not going to get a do-over just because the video looks...
Absolutely.
We don't have any.
It's just so cheesy, right? Video, most video cameras will have a built-in microphone.
Oh,
And that's something I've come across in the last couple of years, is whether it's at practice or in the middle of the crowd, and you know, like I've got an absolutely amazing video that is completely and utterly ruined because there's somebody on the sideline that is just yap, 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 yap. And for the same reason, I don't want to put somebody who's made poor gauging decisions on the internet. I don't want to put somebody who's made poor verbal decisions on the internet. And you know, you might not know them, but it's something to keep in mind. Also, you get to hear the fighters talk. So it can be a really good learning tool. You know, I got to learn how very high-end fighters, talking about Crown and stuff, how they dealt with difficult decisions, you know, how somebody whose chivalry I have great respect for dealt with a difficult decision. It's a great learning tool because a lot of times you'll get kind of second-hand, you know, if I see Fiach in a fight and I go, well, what happened there? You know, maybe he doesn't remember, maybe he's giving me his point of view, but sometimes you get, you know, it's both good and bad, but you get insight into what was really said and what was really done, and that can be an important learning tool as well.
Using Movie Maker, can you strip out the audio track?
Not with Movie Maker.
I know you can with other tools.
And I've had to download other tools specifically to do that, because the video will work uploading without audio.
Another video trick, if you can't actually turn off the microphone in your camera, get one of those little jacks from like the Radio Shack, plug it into the remote microphone, it'll turn the plug in, and it'll bypass it.
Yeah. Or you can also just, you know, cover it with your thumb too. You know,
but
lots of little tricks.
that removes the audio entirely, though,
Yes.
and what you're saying is there's some value to be had from the audio content.
Another piece of valuable audio you get is the sound of contact with a blow. The video example I'll show you later, I don't know if we're going to be able to get enough audio for everybody to hear, but in this case in point, I knew it hit my shield before it hit me, and it did not hit me with enough force, and dealt with it, my opponent during the fight. Everything was good, everything was kosher. I look back at my video and it sounds like shield. It does not look like it hit the shield, but the distinct audio of it hitting shield helped reinforce my decision. But every microphone will be a little bit different, but it is another good little bit of information to have.
Didn't you say the editor you could do a voiceover on?
You can, but when you're doing a voiceover for, like if I wanted to do a voiceover right now, I would load up what's called like a desktop recording player, and what it would do, it would record everything that's happening on my desktop right now. So I would play it with my video player, and then I'd be talking into a microphone over top of it.
Because I'm thinking if there was some background noise you didn't want, or somebody talking, that you could probably put music over the top of that.
Yeah, that's another good point, is putting music over it. I have done that as well. I find music to be really, I don't know.
Well, I mean, it depends. If you really want the video to go up and the sound is poor. And
The problem with adding music to players, especially when you're sharing it, I mean, most of the time if you're going to strip something out of audio, it's because it's going on YouTube. It's going on something very public.
Right.
On a site like YouTube, they constantly are looking through videos to find copyright infringement. So very rarely will you ever have a piece of audio that is okay with them. And you can, on YouTube, actually upload files and then add a music track with their pre-selected artists. But that music really sucks. So I don't.
So talking about copyright and stuff, before you post to YouTube, do you contact all the fighters that you've recorded?
That's a very good point, and something I completely missed in my class. But generally speaking, I make sure I have consent from both fighters before I upload anything, both privately or publicly, or generally speaking, even just videotape them. There's fighters I've approached and asked, and they said no. If I know somebody's videotaping me, it bugs me out, and I don't want to know that. And I say absolutely, and you have to respect that decision. One thing that I'll talk about later is this whole theory of keeping book, and that tends to be the most popular reason why people don't want to get videotaped, is they don't want anybody to keep book on them, know their secrets, but it doesn't really matter anyways. Well, I personally don't. I would be incredibly hurt if I asked somebody not to and then I went on YouTube and it's there. I think anybody that does put video on should at least have some level of consent. The way I work with consent is I say, hey, can I videotape you? They go, yes, and I generally use that as a blanket, or I can always videotape you. If that changes, it's done.